On the snowy street, there's a total party vibe with lights twinkling everywhere. Shining brightly, the decorated tree catches the eye of everyone passing by. Smiling happily, a couple strolls with their little daughter, enjoying Christmas Eve. Suddenly, the family stops, running smack into a huge guy blocking their path. The little girl is stunned, shocked by the sheer size of the dude. Giving them space, our MC shrinks back and lets the family pass, feeling the weight of the night. Alone in the middle of the crowd, he realizes he's the only one without company this time of year. On the subway stairs, the chilly air seems to perfectly match his mood. Then, his steps come to a dead stop when he spots something weird on the ground. Out of the corner of his eye, our guy sees someone else wallowing in loneliness. Sprawled on the cold ground, an old man dressed as Santa Claus seems to be begging for change. Reading the cardboard sign next to the beggar, it says to tell Santa your wish. Sad memories flood our guy's mind the exact moment he bends down. Without a second thought, he pulls out a 10,001 bill, determined to help the big guy out. Reaching out, our MC hands over the money and a hand warmer to the fella. Surprisingly, the old man grabs the guy's hand with absurd strength. Thankful for the kind soul, the beggar Santa insists through tears for him make a wish. Totally freaked out, our guy thinks the old man is nuts and tries to back away. But Santa's grip is like a steel vise, impossible to escape. Pulling back with all his might, our MC realizes he can't move a single inch. With his eyes glowing, the old man begs for the wish, saying it's the only way he can go back to the North Pole. Tired of fighting, the guy gives in and asks if the old man will let him go if he just says something. Reflected in the beggar's bizarre gaze, our MC finally starts to say what he wants. To test the guy, he asks to win the lottery, but the old man shoots back that it's not his sincere wish. Sighing deeply, our guy's expression changes, revealing a profound sadness. Confessing his greatest pain, he reveals he just wants a family that will stay by his side and never abandon him. Finishing his heartfelt plea, our MC says he wants a loving wife and a cute little daughter. Sniffing the air, Santa Claus says he can feel the sincerity of that soul from a mile away. Grinning from ear to ear, the old man celebrates his luck at finding someone so much like himself. Suddenly, the beggar's face turns terrifying as he promises a pure wife and a daughter who will love him. Spooked by the maniacal look, the guy manages to break free with a desperate pull. Away from that lunatic, our MC runs for it, concluding the old man has completely lost his mind. Shouting from behind, Santa Claus swears on his life that he'll use all his magic to grant the wish. Safely inside the subway car, the guy tries to forget the craziness he just went through. Leaning against the glass, he reflects on why he let that stupid wish slip out. Staring at a poster of a happy family, he admits to himself that deep down, he just wanted to be happy too. Closing his heavy eyes, exhaustion hits him hard, and he tries to sleep like everyone else there. Just then, a strange, dirty smell and a freezing chill start to disturb his sleep. Waking up confused and rubbing his head, he suddenly realizes he's shirtless. His eyes bulge as shock takes over his mind when he sees the bizarre scene in front of him. Rocking back and forth, a wooden cart moves through a medieval-style village. Behind iron bars, our guy in nothing but his boxers has no idea where the heck he ended up. Looking to his side, he notices a filthy man with long hair and tattered clothes. Leaning against the bars, the man has an empty gaze as if he's already given up on life. Sizing up the environment, our MC realizes he's in a cage full of people chained up like animals. In an absolute panic, he wonders if he's traveled straight to the Middle Ages. Watching the armored guards outside, he realizes he can't understand a single word they're saying. Analyzing the situation, he figures out there are no other Asians around, and it looks like he's in a historical drama. Putting the pieces together, our guy comes to the terrifying conclusion that he's been sent to another world. Overwhelmed by confusion, the reality of this inexplicable transfer hits him like a ton of bricks. Attached to his feet, heavy iron chains crush any chance of an easy escape. Turning his head, he notices that one of the prisoners thrown on the floor doesn't seem to be breathing. Mourning the tragedy, our MC mutters an apology to the lifeless body, stating that the living have to survive. Quickly putting on the deceased man's rags, he tries to cover himself from the skin, cutting wind. On the wooden floor of the cart, desperation twists our protagonist's expression. Recalling the crazy Santa's words, he wonders if this hell is the so-called happiness he was promised. Trapped in this continuous nightmare, the days pass as the cage continues toward the unknown. Sitting in the corner, the guy has already accepted the harsh reality that he's become a slave. Sighing from exhaustion, he understands why the soldiers are dragging them all around. Watching his miserable companions, he figures they'll be sold to the highest bidder. All of a sudden, the sound of keys unlocking the padlock breaks the monotony of the journey. Thrown out like cattle, the slaves are lined up for the village chief to make his selection. His pride wounded from being turned into merchandise, our MC still feels a spark of hope. Since he has a pretty athletic build, he believes he'll be bought quickly and get out of this prison soon. With a confident smile, he believes this is his big chance to turn the tide. However, after visiting several villages and being completely ignored, that hope turns to pure despair. Back on the dirt road, the cart heads toward increasingly isolated and dark mountains. Bouncing through the forest, the vehicle carries prisoners who no longer have any reason to fight. Throwing his exhausted body onto the wooden floor, our guy wonders how everything fell apart like this. Remembering his mother's face, he hears her in his mind telling him to work hard, no matter the disaster. Completely broken inside, he asks his departed parents if he has the strength to endure this torture. Flashbacks of the darn beggar Santa promising magic invade his mind, fueling his rage even more. Flushing all hope down the drain, he decides this world can go to heck and grabs a sharp fork. Determined to end his suffering, he points the makeshift weapon at his own neck, looking for a way out. But holding back tears at the last second, he pulls away, declaring he refuses to go out in a dump like this. Lost in his desire to be happy, our MC hears a strange voice calling his attention. With the weapon lowered, he stays silent, watching whoever just arrived. Suddenly, a gentle hand passes through the gap in the bars, offering a piece of bread. With a kind smile, a beautiful woman with brown hair hands the food to our guy. Gently, the woman shows compassion and speaks in the language of that world. Hiding behind her mother's dress, a little blonde girl peeks at our MC with curiosity. With no strength to react, he lets the fork fall to the wooden floor of the cage. A small, rustic wooden cabin stands isolated in the middle of the forest. Sitting on the floor, the woman and the little girl share a humble meal at a wooden table. Eagerly, the little one sips her soup, showing she was starving. Delicately, the mother pushes her own bowl over and tells her daughter to have some more. Suddenly, the child stops eating and stares at her mother in silence. Full of pity, the little girl tries to give the food back, saying her mother needs it too. With little finger extended, the child insists her mom is also hungry, surprising the woman. In a cute gesture, the child pushes both bowls toward her mother, proving she cares. Smiling with teary eyes, the mother is moved by the little girl's pure heart. Just then, violent bangs on the door startle them both as the village chief announces his arrival. Hugging her daughter desperately, the woman hears the man say she doesn't even need to open the door. Straight to the point, the chief informs her that the villagers have decided to arrange for one of the slaves to be her new husband. Before leaving, the old man tells her to bring food to the soldiers, leaving the woman in a panic with his haste. Collapsed on the floor, she hugs the child, terrified of being beaten again. Shaking from head to toe, she knows there's no way to simply run away from there. Looking at the sleeping little one, the adoptive mother realizes she can't abandon the girl. Bathed in tears, she affirms that it's impossible to let that child suffer alone again. Memories of the girl crying painfully flood the poor woman's mind. The little one's cries echo in her memory, showing all the trauma of the past. Isolated in the dark cabin, the two cry in each other's arms, suffering their cruel fate. Crouched on the floor, the woman wonders what her next misfortune will be. Curled up and trembling, she silently pleads not to relive the nightmare of her former marriage. Keeping an eye on the sleeping little girl, she knows the child is also scared to death. Focusing on the 5-year-old girl, she recalls that the little one is the orphan of the man who passed away. Remembering her own past, the woman reveals she was sold by her father in exchange for a rabbit pelt. On the very first day in the cabin, she recounts being beaten by her future husband before she could even unpack. Sprawled on the floor, she remembers the only justification for the beating was that she had arrived late. Violent blows marked the beginning of that miserable life, making the harsh reality sink in for good. Lying on the wooden floor, the young woman seemed to have no strength left to even breathe. Suddenly, the little blonde girl approaches with timid steps to see what happened. Lifting her bruised face, the woman cries as she looks at the small presence in the room. Standing there in the middle of that hell, the little girl shows a heart-wrenching innocence. Calmly, the child sits on the floor next to the woman, who was destroyed by the assault. Touching the woman's shoulder, the child seemed like an angel offering comfort at the worst possible time. Hugging on the floor, the two found peace together because the abusive husband disappeared into the mountains and never came back. Rumors said the monster was devoured by wolves during a hunt, leaving only torn clothes behind. Upon hearing of the jerk's demise, the woman felt an immense relief wash over her. But that joy was short-lived, soon giving way to a new, dark despair. Aware of how the world works, she understood that a widow becomes easy prey for bad people. Back in the present, the mother squeezes her daughter's hand and walks firmly toward the village entrance. Grabbing her mother's attention, the little girl points in surprise at something among the trees. Under the sunlight, the prisoner cart catches the little one's eye. Standing in front of the cage, the two of them watch our MC kneeling inside. Carefully, the woman approaches the cart, bringing the little girl with her. Startled by their approach, our guy's eyes widen, the weapon still under his neck. Shocked by the scene, the woman immediately recognizes the expression of someone who has given up on life. Traumatic memories of being brutally beaten come flooding back as she sees the young man's despair. Pulled by her hair in the past, the woman remembers the humiliations she suffered. Oppressive and cruel, the man would even ruin mealtimes, letting his fork fall in the same position as the prisoners. Determined not to let history repeat itself, the woman takes a piece of bread from her basket. Standing with a compassionate look, she prepares to offer the food to the boy. Reaching her hand between the bars, she tries to save our protagonist's soul with a simple gesture. On his knees, our MC looks at the pair and feels a glimmer of hope as he drops the weapon. Just then, the village chief suddenly appears and gets the woman's attention. Taking the basket of bread, the old man says he'll take care of the guards and tells the woman to go back home. Calling her daughter, the woman obeys and starts to walk away from the cart, leaving the guy behind. Over her mother's shoulder, the little blonde girl gives one last curious look at the prisoner. Firmly holding the piece of bread, our MC follows the two with a fixed gaze. Without a second thought, he bites into the food, tasting the kindness he just received. Brutally, two soldiers open the cage and yell for him to get out of there. Receiving a kick to the back, the guy is thrown face first onto the dirt ground. Overcome by pain, he refuses to let go of the bread and holds back a scream. Lined up on their knees, the three slaves wait as the chief announces the start of the ritual. Quickly, the guards pull out daggers and pierce the hands of the other prisoners, who scream in agony. Dripping fresh blood, the blade approaches our guy, who is on his knees. The scrolls reveal glowing symbols, leaving our MC in total shock. Confused by the bizarre magic, he wonders once again what kind of crazy world he's ended up in. Whispering in the chief's ear, the soldier says something in that place's incomprehensible language. In a quick whisper, the village chief discreetly points to our protagonist kneeling on the ground. Completely lost, the guy doesn't understand a single thing about that weird conversation. Far away, the woman's humble wooden cabin remains peaceful in the middle of the forest. With a heavy sack thrown on the floor, an old woman announces that the village will provide supplies for a while. Straight to the point, the lady warns that the new husband doesn't speak their language and that the debt for the food will have to be paid later. In a sincere tone, the villager confesses with her arms crossed that nobody liked her former husband. Without beating around the bush, she explains they only tolerated the deceased because they desperately needed a guard on the mountain. However, the old woman guarantees that this new man is very different and that his hands are as soft as a nobleman's. To calm the young woman down, the lady says that hands like his have never hit anyone and that she will lie very well. Saddened by the situation, the woman squeezes the old lady's hand, saying she doesn't care about any luxury. In a fearful sigh, she just begs for the big guy not to be a violent man. As she covers her sleeping daughter, the woman just hopes the fellow will leave them in peace. Suddenly, violent bangs on the door break the cabin's silence, announcing the chief's arrival. Startled by the noise, the woman jumps, feeling her heart race instantly. Through the small window, she freezes when she sees the absurd size of the man accompanying the leader. Invading her space, the village chief enters and drops the bombshell, saying he's brought the new husband. In a state of shock, the young woman breaks into a cold sweat hearing those words leave the elder's mouth. With a completely lost look, our MC enters the house without understanding where the heck he is. Perplexed by the scene, the woman mentally wonders why they're dragging such a wounded man there. Face to face with the giant, she questions in disbelief if this is really the man for the marriage. Seized by terror, she notes she's never seen anyone so enormous in her entire life. Still confused, our guy finally lays eyes on the woman's frightened face. In a flash, he quickly realizes she's the same person who gave him bread in the slave cage. Quite curious, our MC finds it very strange that she's trembling so much. Losing his patience, the chief grabs our guy's arm, demanding some action. The old man pulls our MC toward the woman, forcing the interaction. Understanding absolutely nothing, the guy stops when the chief points his finger right in the woman's face. With a tight grip on her wrist, the old man tells the woman to relax on her own wedding day. In a quick and invasive gesture, the leader joins their hands and concludes the ceremony right there. Standing side by side, the gossiping old man compliments them, saying they already look like a beautiful couple. Faced with that bizarre atmosphere, our MC deduces what's happening even without knowing the local language. At that exact moment, the demonic face of the beggar Santa Claus reappears in his mind, promising a pure wife. As if by magic, our guy sees a glowing aura of a cute little bunny around the woman. Focusing his gaze on the small child, he connects the dots, remembering the promise of a daughter like a mongoose. Shocked by the coincidence, our MC finally understands that the crazy old man was real and kept his promise. Aware of all the madness, the guy reflects on the absurdity of being thrown into another world for a wish to come true. Full of hatred, he remembers the tortures he endured and questions why the gift came with so much pain. With blood in his eyes, the guy swears to himself that he will destroy Santa Claus if he ever crosses his path again. Unintentionally releasing a demonic aura, he ends up terrifying his new bunny wife and mongoose daughter. The group gathers in a sunlit open area of the forest. Annoyed by the chief's shouting, our MC complains that he can't stand being deaf to that language anymore. Right after, the old man turns his face to the villagers, setting up the next step of the plan. Out of the blue, one of the men approaches our guy, extending his hand for a handshake. Unsuspecting, our MC accepts the gesture and shakes the villager's hand. Shocked by the man's crushing strength, he feels his bones crack and grits his teeth. Suspicious of the situation, our MC narrows his eyes, analyzing the intentions of these people. Suddenly, the guy returns the handshake with monstrous force, making the man drop to his knees, screaming. Faced with the painful scene, the chief simply shakes his head and claps in approval for our guy. With short steps, the old man approaches and extends a hunting bow toward our MC. With the weapon in hand, the leader demonstrates the correct posture for shooting in the woods. Confused by the gift, our guy takes the long-range weapon without getting the mission. In a bizarre gesture, the chief steps back and puts his hands on his head, imitating a furry animal. Hopping around on the dirt ground, the elder pretends to be a rabbit in front of everyone. In a moment of clarity, our MC finally connects the dots and realizes the lesson is about hunting. Out of nowhere, the old man stops the charade and makes an aggressive attack signal with both hands. Screaming, the chief points to a target in the bushes, demanding the guy shoot the arrow. Standing quietly near the bushes, a little white rabbit chews on leaves without suspecting a thing. In an internal panic, the guy tells himself he's never held a darn bow in his life. All clumsy, he pulls the string, remembering that even professional athletes struggle to hit the target. Focused on the objective, our MC closes one eye and tries to aim any way he can. In the blink of an eye, the arrow startles the rabbit, sticking into the dirt with a dry thud. Surprisingly, the chief laughs, clapping, while the guy doesn't understand how his aim was so good. Just then, soft footsteps behind our MC catch his attention and break the training mood. Down the dirt path, the bunny wife and mongoose daughter appear, carrying a picnic basket. Surprised by the visit, the guy just stares as the woman timidly approaches. Faced with that radiant sight, he reinforces in his mind that this beautiful woman is now his responsibility. Blushing with embarrassment, the guy looks away while the gossipy chief observes the romantic tension in the air. Quickly, the woman spreads a giant sheet on the ground, setting up lunch in the middle of the woods. Sitting across from each other, the awkward first-date atmosphere hits the lovebirds full force. Carefully, the guy holds the bowl full of hot meat and vegetable soup. With the spoon near his mouth, our MC notices the woman and child are staring at him with tremendous expectation. In a quick startle, the woman pulls the little girl back, dying of embarrassment for being caught peeking. Totally neutral, our guy ignores the scene and focuses on his meal while trying to accept his new, crazy reality. Soft smile, our MC reflects on his new reality. Used to living completely alone since his school days, he remembers that family is a strange word. Fortunately, now our guy has two people sitting by his side sharing a meal. With the bowl in his hand, he grumbles internally that he'd prefer if everything had happened more naturally. Focused on the bright sky, our MC confesses he wants to take out Santa Claus, but also feels immense gratitude. In a sigh of relief, he thanks him quietly while the two continue eating peacefully. The very next day, the trio walks through the forest, following the steps of a villager. With a giant sack on his back, our MC glances back, quite worried. Completely exhausted, the woman and child struggle to keep up with the grueling pace of the walk. Annoyed by the darn language barrier, he regrets not even being able to ask if they're okay. With no time for nonsense, the guy decides he needs to adapt to this world as quickly as possible. Memories of his late mother surface in his mind, warning that one must not hesitate when it's time to protect someone. His mother's voice echoes, stating that action must be immediate. In a quick turn, our guy stops walking and turns around with the heavy sack. Abruptly, the woman bumps into his back and is startled by the sudden stop. Terrified, the little blonde girl holds back a cry, her eyes shining with dread. Kneeling in front of them, our MC says he's going to pick them up and asks them not to be afraid. Completely frozen, the woman is speechless, expecting the worst. With her hands together, she begs for mercy in a foreign language he has no idea what it means. Desperate, the child begins to sob, clinging to her mother's dress. Aware of the misunderstanding, our MC notices that his mere presence causes terror. "Excuse me." He moves toward his new family. He grabs the woman by the waist, surprising the poor thing. As he throws the woman over the supply sack, he adjusts the load effortlessly. With his other arm, he lifts the little blonde girl with the greatest of ease. Strong and steady, our guy stands up, carrying the woman and the child at the same time. With wide eyes, the little girl lets out a little shriek of pure amazement. Thrown over his back, the woman is stunned, not knowing what to do. With a confident smile, our MC tells the two of them to hold on tight. Along the way, he finds their weight strange, thinking they're both too light. Determined to change that, he vows to learn how to hunt soon to stuff his family with meat. Out of the corner of his eye, he tells the woman that he's going to work very hard from now on. Delicately, the woman reaches out her hand and caresses the back of our protagonist's neck. Surprised by the soft touch, he slightly falters in his steps. With her forehead pressed against his warm back, she breaks down in silent tears. Crossing the forest, our guy carries the weight of his new world without complaint. At the final destination, the villager points to an isolated cabin and says goodbye. Our MC watches the guy disappear among the trees. Facing his new home, he deduces that place must be colder than his old room. Amid memories of being chained in the cold as a slave, he admits he now hates winter more than ever. Pushing open the wooden door, he enters the shack to check the situation. At the cabin door, his expression changes to pure confusion. Over his shoulder, the woman looks inside and immediately turns pale. Not understanding her despair, our guy asks why the tears are falling again. The woman runs inside, passing him in a desperate rush. Curious about her reaction, our MC follows right behind to investigate. Through the open door, the light reveals the shack's interior, which has been completely looted by the villagers. On the dirt floor, the woman cries loudly, mourning the loss of the table, the bow, and even the hammer. Thoughtfully, our guide deduces that without tools, there's no way to fix the house or defend against wild beasts. Walking slowly toward the defeated woman, he finally understands the gravity of the problem. On the grass beside her, he decides to show her that she's no longer alone. With his right hand raised, he reaches for the head of the woman, who is crying nonstop. With great affection, he gently strokes her brown hair. In a comforting tone, he asks her to relax, trying to convey a sense of security. Looking at her husband's face, the woman questions her own fate by his side. Disappointed by the lack of communication, our MC feels useless as the mountain's guardian. Without much faith in the future, she accepts the affection, closing her red-rimmed eyes. Full of confidence, he swears he will protect them both, no matter what happens. After wiping the tears from her face, the gentle touch calms her suppressed despair. Attentive to that kind face, the woman finally feels a drop of relief in her chest. In his past memories, our guy confesses that he had to fight alone since his parents passed. Resilient to every fall, he built a tough shell against the rest of the world. Now that he has a real family, our MC knows he can overcome any obstacle. Decisively, he beats his chest and guarantees he'll do everything to make sure they lack nothing. Emotionally exhausted, the woman tries to swallow another strong sob. In a protective hug, he pulls his wife in carefully to comfort her pain. Fast as a rocket, the little blonde girl darts toward them, shouting her mother's name. Clinging to the woman's leg, the child begs the giant not to hurt Lizzie. Sitting on the lake's edge, the three form a touching scene in the middle of the forest. Faced with the weight of that woman crying on his shoulder, the guy gets a reality check. For the first time, the novelty of having a child and a fragile woman hits him right in the heart. Several questions hammer his curious mind about their painful past. But deciding to ignore the mysteries, he kisses the woman's forehead, promising to dry all her tears. As a seal of his promise, he gives a tight hug by the lake, vowing to be the best father and husband this world has ever seen. Bathed in the evening light, the wooden cabin finally seems to be at peace. Sitting on the floor cross-legged, our MC sighs in frustration, thinking he'd gained some intimacy with his wife but is back to square one. Analyzing the situation, he's mentally thankful that she's no longer terrified, just awkward with their new life together. Suddenly, an idea lights up the guy's mind to break the ice. Turning to his own chest, he says his name loud and clear. In a slow voice, he repeats, Kim Jo-won, in the hope that they'll understand they need to get to know each other. Right after, he points to the woman, encouraging communication. With his hand extended, our MC politely asks her to say her name. Tense and nervous, the woman mutters something like, Lizzie, leaving the guy confused. Touching her own chest, she confirms her name is Lizzie, and our hero finally gets it. With a grin from ear to ear, he compliments her name, trying to lighten the mood. Focusing his attention on the little blonde girl, he points his finger, asking for the child's name. Immediately, the mother tenses up and looks down, changing the atmosphere in an instant. With a negative shake of her head, the little child indicates she doesn't have a name, breaking our protagonist's heart. Determined to change that, he reaches out his hand to give the little one a gentle pat. Stroking the girl's blonde hair, he christens her, Dorothy. In the guy's head, the reference to the Wizard of Oz is perfect for her to have a life full of adventures and friends. Like a free bird, a white dove crosses his imagination, symbolizing the happiness he wishes for the girl. Curious, the child points to herself and tries to pronounce the new name with absurd cuteness. With a toothless smile, she finally manages to say Dorothy and accepts the gift. Outside, our MC burns off energy by chopping wood with violent axe swings. Hiding behind a tree, the woman spies on his work, finding it all very surreal. Observing the guy's physique, she notes that he's much bigger than her late husband, but infinitely gentler. With sparkling eyes, she admits to herself she's never met a man with such a protective energy. Repeating the name Jawan, she notices his accent is refined, and his voice conveys a lot of calm. Memories of her violent past contrast with the affection she's now receiving for the first time in her life. Fascinated by the guy's smile, she wonders about the reason for so much unprompted kindness. The guy, more wood, she's absolutely certain that he doesn't belong in this backwater place. With an enthusiastic wave, our MC gets his wife's attention, cutting through her thoughts. Focused on his face, she intensely studies the guy's dark hair and black eyes. From the past, village rumors echo in her mind about an enemy nation that summoned a legendary hero. According to the gossip, the invincible warrior had the exact same dark appearance as her new husband. Walking toward her, the guy has no idea he's being judged. Looking deep into his dark eyes, the woman tries to find the truth. Trying to push away this crazy idea, she concludes that a hero would never be living there. In her view, it would make much more sense for a legendary warrior to live in a luxurious palace, not a forgotten mountain. Near his wife, he lets out a tired sigh from chopping wood, breaking the mysterious mood. Looking closer at the guy's hair, she notices it's more brown than dark black. Relieved by this observation, she sighs happily that he's just an ordinary man, a little bigger than average. Suddenly it hits her, and she scolds herself for being so relieved about someone she just met. Completely red with embarrassment, the woman turns her face away, leaving our guy totally confused about the situation. In a purely instinctual gesture, he rests his heavy hand on top of her head. Immediately, the woman freezes, remembering the only time a man did that was to beat her. Placed gently, the guy's hand just rests among her brown strands, stroking her hair. As her shoulders relax, the woman closes her eyes, feeling an indescribable peace. Overcome by a desire for that affection to last forever, she surrenders to her husband's gentle touch. With flushed cheeks, she shows she's on cloud 9 with the unexpected protection. In an unexpected move, our protagonist leans in and gives her a quick kiss on the cheek. As if hit by an ice spell, poor Lizzie freezes with shock and embarrassment. Overwhelmed by embarrassment at his own action, the guy stammers, not knowing where to hide his face. To get out of there fast, he grabs a random wooden bucket. In a desperate run, he flees toward the forest, leaving his paralyzed wife behind. Catching her breath, the woman lets out a silent scream, her face boiling like a pressure cooker. Hiding among the trees, our hero calls himself an idiot for the stolen kiss. With a hand in his hair, he tries to justify himself, remembering they met that very day. Not mastering the local language, he panics, planning strategies to act normal on his way back. As he suddenly stops, he realizes something is very wrong. Looking all around in the darkness of the forest, the guy notices he's badly lost. Around him, the woods start to get creepy, warning him that he's no longer alone. Focused only on getting water, he tries to ignore the tense atmosphere and rising fear. Suddenly, a dangerous instinct makes our MC freeze from head to toe. The shadows reveal two glowing, demonic red eyes. Thirsty for blood, the monstrous beast shows its sharp fangs, ready for the kill. With wide eyes, the guy recognizes a black wolf of absurd proportions blocking the path. Without wasting time, he grabs a thick piece of a log to use as a weapon. Face to face with his potential end, our hero braces for impact. In a lightning-fast pounce, the monster attacks, sinking its teeth into the wood our MC uses as a shield. Exerting extreme force, the guy resists the weight of the beast, which roars in hatred. With the log stuck in the wolf's mouth, he tries to find an opening to fight back. Full of fury, our guy yells that he refuses to bite the dust in a forgotten hole like this. In a powerful punch, he uses all his willpower to push the creature away. Despite his resistance, the wolf bites harder, breaking the wood and tearing the guy's flesh. With his entire body burning in agony, our MC lets out a scream of pure desperation. But in a survival reflex, his eyes glow with a mysterious energy. Out of nowhere, violent flames explode from the guy's hand, engulfing the wolf's face and revealing the true magical power he hides. With his arm in flames, our MC faces the beast, ready for a counterattack. In an agile leap, he mounts the giant wolf's back, driving his fiery fist into the creature. Without any mercy, the guy rains down explosive blows on the monster's head. Showers of sparks fly everywhere as he crushes the beast with all his rage. Finally, the black wolf falls dead on the ground, bleeding and smoking. Tired and panting, our hero collapses on the grass, trying to process what just happened. With his hand raised, he observes his own skin, perfectly remembering that his arm was on fire. He notices that his clothes and skin have no burn marks. Then it hits him and he wonders in shock if he really just used magic. Thoughtfully, he recalls how he was transported to this world and how the guards used magical scrolls. As an avid reader, he deduces that gaining overpowered abilities is a classic of fantasy stories. Excited by the discovery, he extends his hand to the sky and yells, fireball. Determined to test it again, he repeats the move several times next to the dead wolf, but nothing happens. Totally focused, calls for bigger spells, shouting, firestorm, and wall of flame. Desperate for a cool effect, he invokes Dragon's Breath and even calls upon the spirits of the earth. Faced with the embarrassing silence, the guy looks like a total idiot, realizing what a fool he's made of himself. Just then, the guy notices that the magic has healed some of his battle wounds. Full of hope, our MC plans to master this power to become an elite hunter and support his family. With his mind on a hearty feast, he visualizes the two of them eating meat and smiling happily. Besides food, he thinks of using the gift to heal injuries, since they live isolated on the mountain. Determined to take it one step at a time, he gets up from the ground and focuses on the present. From his bitter memories, the guy recalls the tense day of his parents' funeral. Suddenly, an angry relative charges at him, delivering a violent slap in the middle of the wake. On the floor, the boy hears the screams blaming him for his father's and brother's passing. Surrounded by looks of pure hatred, the young middle schooler was treated like a truly cursed plague. Back in the forest, the hunter shakes his head and decides to drain the beast blood to not attract predators. Without wasting time, he throws the dead weight of the giant wolf over his shoulders to get back quickly. With the monster on his shoulders, he remembers his grandfather cleaning chickens and rabbits in his childhood. Under the moonlight, our hero walks calmly, wishing his grandfather could see his strength now. On the way, he's still racking his brain, trying to figure out how to train his fire magic. Far away, his wife tidies up the humble house near the lit fireplace. Quick and helpful, little Dorothy runs over holding an empty bowl to help. With a sweet smile, the adoptive mother thanks her and gently pats the little girl's head. Radiant, the child lets out a hearty laugh, loving the affection she's receiving. Curious about the noise outside, the little girl runs to the window to peek. Leaning on the windowsill, she widens her little eyes, facing the darkness. Out of nowhere, the child's expression changes to pure shock. Before her, the terrifying head of the giant wolf sways on the guy's back. Terrified, the girl screams in panic, getting her mother's attention right away. Desperate, the woman grabs a huge kitchen knife in the blink of an eye. Screaming for her daughter to stay back, the mother runs like a rocket to the front door. With her heart in her throat, the woman throws open the door, ready for a fight. Startled by the commotion, our guy holds the dead wolf, not understanding his family's panic. At the door, the wife freezes upon seeing that her husband is alive and carrying the beast. Quickly, she drops the knife on the ground and runs toward the guy. Dropping the animal haphazardly, our MC catches the woman, who arrives in tears. Ignoring her fear, the woman clutches his clothes, worried he might have been eaten. With her hands on the guy's face, she checks if he's injured, with tears in her eyes. Trying to calm the situation, the guy stammers that he got a little hurt, but is fine now. Little Dorothy grabs our MC's leg, crying her eyes out. With an affectionate smile, the hunter reaffirms it was just a bite on the arm, and everything's okay. Sitting on the grass, the family finally breathes a sigh of relief next to the hunting trophy. In an emotional impulse, the woman hugs the guy with all her might. Leaning against his chest, she repeats over and over that she was worried sick. Seeing the child whimpering just like her mother, he feels the weight of being loved. In front of the lit cottage, our MC swears again that he will never make them cry again. The next morning, crows fly over the roof, heralding the start of a new day. Focused on his work, the guy uses a small knife to skin the wolf on the table. With great force, he pulls the thick hide, trying to separate the leather from the meat. Covered in sweat, he grumbles that his grandpa made this look like the easiest thing in the world. Tired of the effort, the hunter wipes his forehead and decides he needs to learn a better technique. Finally, he finishes the rough job and cuts a good piece of fresh meat. Opening the cottage door, he enters to deliver the food. He immediately comes face to face with the woman carrying a wooden bucket. Surprised by the coincidence, he smiles and goes to meet her. Gently, the wife lowers the bucket, nodding for him to put the meat inside. With a bead of sweat on his head, our MC instantly understands the woman's intention. Searching his memory, he concentrates to remember the word for thank you in the local language. He manages to pronounce thank you in a clumsy way. With wide eyes, the woman is surprised by her husband's attempt to speak her language. With a shy smile, she blushes a little, finding the gesture cute. Confused by her reaction, he internally questions if he said something stupid. Amused by the scene, she points to herself and repeats the thank you in a sweet tone. In a wide step, the guy closes the space between them. Focused on her brown eyes, he replies, "You're welcome," leaving his wife amazed and speechless. Surprised by her attitude, the guy realizes he's never heard a thank you from his own family. Though with the bucket in hand, the wife reflects that she's living a collection of first times with him. In the woman's thoughts, the first stolen kiss still pounds strongly in her memory. Following her husband's steps, she enters the cabin, wondering if he's kissed other women. With a racing heart, the girl admits she feels a pang of jealousy just imagining it. Inside the house, our hero sets the water bucket down near the table. Immediately, the woman tries to take over the chore, finding it strange for a man to do housework. In a surprising move, our MC picks up the heavy meat without letting his wife strain herself. She stares at the guy, trying to understand why he acts like this is normal. Out of nowhere, the hunter gets dangerously close, leaving the woman paralyzed with nervousness. Right up in her face, he makes his wife hold her breath with so much anticipation. With her eyes closed, the girl curses herself for expecting another kiss out of the blue. Walking right past her, the guy just calmly picks up the wooden bucket. Full of embarrassment, the little wife internally freaks out over her own blunder. Turning to face her, our MC is puzzled by the woman's bizarre reaction. Focused on her goal, she vows to keep her eyes wide open to not create any more false hopes. In a surprise attack, the hunter pulls the woman in and steals a real kiss. Totally unprepared, she receives the kiss with wide eyes, feeling the world spin. After the romantic touch, the guy pulls back, holding the bucket, and notices a small presence. Hiding in the doorway, the little blonde girl spies on the lovebirds with curiosity. Desperate with embarrassment, the wife flees, running out of the house like a hurricane. In the yard, the guy walks calmly toward the forest, accompanied by the child. Clinging to his clothes, the girl firmly keeps pace with the giant. With a gentle smile, our MC thanks the little one for her help. Suddenly, the little girl lowers her head, looking upset about something. Quick on the uptake, he figures out his mistake and repeats the thank you, calling the girl by her name. Happy as can be, Dorothy breaks into a huge smile upon hearing the hunter's voice. Back in the cabin, the wife tends to the slain monster's pelt on the floor. Crossing his legs on the floor, our guy doesn't understand why she's drying that stinky thing inside the house. Analyzing the sparkle in the woman's eyes, the hero realizes the item's real value. Before him, the woman smiles at the hide, confirming that the material is worth a lot of money. Approaching her mother, the little girl stares at the makeshift rug in amazement. Fearlessly, the girl pets the dead animal's snout, thinking it's the coolest thing ever. Faced with the funny scene, the mother lets out a hearty laugh along with her daughter. Pleased with the light-hearted mood, our MC smiles, finding their happiness contagious. The next morning, the cabin awakens peacefully under the soft sunlight. Focused on prep work, the wife cuts pieces of meat into a wooden basin. Watching everything in silence, the hunter plans to imitate her technique next time. With great care, the woman separates the fat, leaving the guy relieved that nothing was wasted. With his mind racing, our MC decides he needs to learn everything about local survival. Thinking about money, he wants to master the rules of trade to secure his family's future. Determined to act, the guy gets up, dusting off his pants. Walking to the exit, he crosses paths with his wife, who tries to stop him from working. Turning to face the woman, he finds her request to keep resting strange. In a relaxed tone, he states that he's already recovered his energy and doesn't feel any more pain. With a hand on her shoulder, the guy assures her he won't push his own limits. Heading off to the forest, he leaves the woman sighing in relief. In the middle of the trees, the hunter chooses a very thick log to practice on. Knowing nothing about wood, he assesses the axe's swing, blindly trusting in brute force. In a powerful move, the guy raises the tool and brings his arm down with everything he's got. With the absurd impact, the wooden handle breaks instantly. Unbalanced by the damage, our MC stumbles back as the sharp blade flies into the bushes. Completely embarrassed, the guy scratches his head, holding only a broken stump. Later, the house remains untouched in the middle of the afternoon. Pushing the door open, our hero returns from work exhausted. The wife runs toward him, noticing his visible fatigue. Dropping the basket of firewood on the floor, the guy takes a deep breath. Collapsing onto the wooden floor, the hero finally allows himself to rest. Quickly, the woman holds her husband's hand, relieved that he's in one piece. With a tired smile, the guy just thanks her for her care. At the back of the room, little Dorothy runs excitedly to the water basin. Dipping her little hands in the liquid, the child prepares her own healing magic. Dripping water on the floor, the girl advances toward the hero. In a cute move, the little girl shakes her wet hands in the hunter's face. Caught by surprise, the guy can't hold back a sincere laugh. Soon, the wife joins in the fun, laughing at her daughter's innocence. Noticing her parents' joy, the little girl is mesmerized by our MC's face. Stroking the child's hair, the hero thanks her for the little help with all the love in the world. Ending the fun, the mother laughingly tells her daughter to stop getting the house wet. In the middle of the room, the couple enjoys the girl's endless energy. Closing his eyes, our guy realizes that happiness has finally found its way to him. Outside, smoke rises from the chimney, marking the new family's home. Warming the house, the fire burns strongly in the stone structure. Sharing a hearty meal, the couple eats in peace with the little girl sleeping on the floor. Breaking the night's silence, the wife gets the hero's attention with a loving gaze. Surprised by her attitude, the guy realizes he's never heard a thank you. Not even from his own family. With the bucket in hand, the wife reflects that she's experiencing a collection of first times with him. In the woman's thoughts, that first stolen kiss still pounds strongly in her memory. Following her husband, she enters the cabin wondering if he's kissed other women. With a racing heart, the girl admits she feels a pang of jealousy just imagining the scene. Inside the house, our hero sets the water bucket down near the table. Immediately, the woman tries to take over the chore, finding it strange for a man to do housework. In a surprising move, our MC picks up the heavy meat without letting his wife strain herself. She stares at the guy, trying to understand why he acts as if this were normal. Out of nowhere, the hunter gets dangerously close, leaving the woman paralyzed with nervousness. Right up in her face, he makes his wife hold her breath with anticipation. With her eyes closed, the girl curses herself for expecting another kiss out of the blue. A few steps later, the guy just picks up the wooden bucket, ignoring the mood. Dying of embarrassment, the little wife internally freaks out over her own blunder. Facing her, our MC is puzzled by the woman's bizarre reaction. Focused on her goal, she vows to keep her eyes wide open to not create any more false hopes. In a surprise attack, the hunter pulls the woman in and steals a real kiss. Totally unprepared, she receives the kiss with wide eyes, feeling the world spin. After the romantic touch, the guy pulls back holding the bucket and notices a small presence. Hiding in the doorway, the little blonde girl spies on the lovebirds with curiosity. Desperate with embarrassment, the wife flees, running out of the house like a hurricane. In the yard, the guy walks calmly toward the forest, accompanied by the child. Clinging to his clothes, the girl firmly keeps pace with the giant. With a gentle smile, our MC thanks the little one for her help. Suddenly, the little girl lowers her head, looking upset about something. Quick on the uptake, he figures out his mistake and repeats the thank you, calling the girl by her name. Smiling and happy, Dorothy breaks into a huge smile upon hearing the hunter's voice. Back in the cabin, the wife tends to the slain monster's pelt on the floor. Cross-legged on the floor, our guy doesn't understand why she's drying that stinky thing inside the house. Seeing the sparkle in the woman's eyes, the hero realizes the item's real value. Before him, the woman smiles at the hide, confirming that the material is worth a lot of money. Approaching her mother, the little girl stares at the makeshift rug in amazement. Bravely, the girl pets the dead animal's snout, thinking it's the coolest thing ever. Faced with the funny scene, the mother lets out a hearty laugh along with her daughter. Infected by the mood, our MC smiles, finding their happiness wonderful. The next morning, the cabin awakens peacefully under the soft sunlight. Focused on prep work, the wife cuts pieces of meat into a wooden basin. In silence, the hunter plans to imitate her technique next time. With great care, the woman separates the fat, leaving the guy relieved that nothing was wasted. With his mind racing, our MC decides he needs to learn everything about local survival. Thinking about money, he wants to master the rules of trade to secure his family's future. Determined to act, the guy gets up, dusting off his pants. On his way out, he crosses paths with his wife, who tries to stop him from working. Near the door, he finds her request to keep resting strange. In a relaxed tone, he states that he's already recovered his energy and doesn't feel any more pain. With a hand on her shoulder, the guy assures her he won't push his own limits. On his way to the forest, he leaves the woman sighing in relief. In the middle of the trees, the hunter chooses a very thick log to practice on. Knowing nothing about wood, he assesses the axe's swing, blindly trusting in brute force. In a powerful move, the guy raises the tool and brings his arm down with everything he's got. With the absurd impact, the wooden handle breaks instantly. Unbalanced by the damage, our MC stumbles back as the sharp blade flies into the bushes. Completely embarrassed, the guy scratches his head, holding only a broken stump. The house remains untouched in the middle of the afternoon. Opening the door, our hero returns from work, exhausted. Worried, the wife runs toward him, noticing his visible fatigue. Dropping the basket of firewood on the floor, the guy takes a deep breath. Collapsing onto the wooden floor, the hero finally allows himself to rest. Quickly, the woman holds her husband's hand, relieved that he's in one piece. With a tired smile, the guy just thanks her for her care. At the back of the room, little Dorothy runs excitedly to the water basin. With her little hands in the water, the child prepares her own healing magic. Splattering drops on the floor, the girl advances toward the hero. In a cute move, the little girl shakes her wet hands in the hunter's face. Caught by surprise, the guy can't hold back a sincere laugh. Soon, the wife joins in the fun, laughing at her daughter's innocence. Attentive to her parents' joy, the little girl is mesmerized by our MC's face. In a quick hair ruffle, the hero thanks her for the little help with all the love in the world. To end the fun, the mother laughingly tells her daughter to stop getting the house wet. In the middle of the room, the couple enjoys the girl's endless energy. Closing his eyes, our guy realizes that happiness has finally found its way to him. Outside, smoke rises from the chimney, marking the new family's home. To warm the house, the fire burns strongly in the stone structure. During a hearty meal, the couple eats in peace with the little girl sleeping on the floor. Cutting through the night's silence, the wife gets the hero's attention with a loving gaze. With the axe in hand, our hero advances confidently, stating that he now has a real weapon. Trading firmly in the dark forest, he walks, alert for any sign of danger. Suddenly, the mood changes and the guy realizes the air has become too heavy. Gripping the wooden handle tightly, he finds it absurdly difficult to even breathe. Tense about the situation, the hunter wonders what bizarre monster will jump out of the shadows this time. Heavy footsteps break the silence of the woods. Surprised by the noise, the guy turns his head, breaking into a cold sweat to try and identify the threat. Before him, a mysterious figure wearing a dark cloak appears among the trees. Staring at the cloaked old man, our MC asks right away who's there. Near the rocks, giant fresh bloodstains reveal that a recent massacre took place. Assessing the tracks, the old man deduces that a colossal beast passed through here. In shock, the old man confesses he thought the guy had help, but in reality, he killed the beast alone. In the old man's memories, our MC barely knew how to hold an axe properly just days ago. Confused by this evolution, the old man doesn't understand how the inexperienced big guy took down a monster of that size. To the experienced hunter, even a trained professional would have perished fighting the creature without a good weapon. Intrigued by the mystery, the cloaked figure decides to investigate the guy more closely. With slow steps, he approaches our hero to see for himself. Face to face on the trail, the old man stares at the guy, hiding his true intentions. Without showing fear, the wary-eyed villager analyzes every detail of the young man's body. Focusing on the guy's injured arm, he sees deep claw marks. From the shape of the wound, the hunter instantly confirms it was a wolf bite. However, something doesn't add up, and the old man finds it strange that the wound is too clean. In a normal situation, a bite like that would get infected, and the victim would already be gone from a fever. In that strange world, the existence of mages is an extremely rare legend. As people that commoners almost never see in their entire lives, magic users are true gods. Putting the pieces together, the old man deduces that the big guy can only be a mage. With a wicked smile, the cloaked figure celebrates internally, affirming that his chance has finally arrived. Looking at the guy, the old man sees the perfect opportunity for revenge before he kicks the bucket. Suspicious of the silence, our MC narrows his eyes and wonders who the heck this guy is. In the past, the old man was a young and energetic lumberjack. By the rules of the time, becoming a nobleman's forest guard required serving in a war for a long period. To escape this cruel fate, the young man in the cloak decided to become just a common lumberjack in the village. Rich in resources, the mountain offered everything the villagers needed. The big problem, however, was safely collecting the firewood. Due to the scarcity at the edge of the woods, the lumberjack had no choice but to venture into the depths of the mountain. At that time, he thought the adventure would be perfect for mapping the territory. Little did he know the dark reason that kept the villagers away from the deeper parts. Exhausted after exploring the area, the young lumberjack ended up collapsing on the ground, drained of strength. Utterly terrified, he came face to face with the real danger. Green monstrous creatures known as goblins dominated the mountaintop. Famous for kidnapping human women, the monsters forced their prisoners to bear offspring. Due to this curse, the village lost almost all its women and became the main target of the Green Plague. Hiding in the dark, the lumberjack held this mortal hatred in his heart for years. For decades, the old man lived among those miserable people, just swallowing his anger. With fury burning in his chest, his only goal in life became to exterminate the scumbags. Survive at all costs, he swore to turn the goblin's nest to ash. Back in the present, the old man is certain that our guy is the perfect weapon for the job. With an absurd physique and strength worthy of a giant, our MC impresses the elder. Combined with magical regeneration, the guy could surpass any veteran hunter. Deep in the cave, the goblins remain quiet, but they will soon attack the village when the women run out. To prevent the worst, the old man decides to train the guy until he becomes a killing machine. Running the plan in his head, he knows he needs to keep the nest a secret until they sign a contract. Bound by the official agreement, the guy won't be able to back out or flee the mission. Gently, our MC bows in respect while the old man speaks in the local language. Analyzing the guy's posture, the hunter notices he's shifted his body weight back. Even with a friendly smile, our hero doesn't let his guard down for a single second. Aware of the guy's potential, the old man promises to teach him everything he knows about hunting from that day on. Confused by the conversation, the young man just blinks, not understanding a single thing the master is saying. The next morning, our MC wakes up, stretching his body and feeling like the night flew by. Near the fireplace, his wife is already tending the fire, skewering food for their daughter. Suddenly, the house door is opened from the outside without any warning. Annoyed by the intrusion, the hero regrets letting the old man into his territory. Being very protective, he doesn't want to turn the cabin into a place anyone can snoop around in. With a shameless look on his face, the master flashes a cynical smile, like someone who's going to charge a hefty price for his teaching. Grabbing his heavy bag, the guy sighs, accepting that he needs to grind hard to master hunting. From the stove, the wife quickly approaches with something in her hands. Holding a makeshift lunchbox, she hands him the food with flushed cheeks and tired eyes. Faced with this scene, our protagonist thinks his wife's gesture is the cutest thing in the world. Speechless, the woman just hands over the container, breaking into a cold sweat from nervousness and worry. Right behind, little Dorothy runs full speed toward her adoptive father. With her little arms open, the child runs clumsily to get a hug. Smiling at the girl, the guy gets ready to receive the affection before leaving. Worried about her husband, the woman touches his bag, telling him to eat properly. Melting inside, our MC smiles in relief, feeling that he now has people who truly care about him. Trying to get the local language right, the wife wishes her beloved a safe journey, and he promises to be back soon. With the heavy axe in his hands, our hero advances confidently, stating he finally has a real weapon. Passing by the tall trees, he walks alert to any sign of danger in the forest. Suddenly, the atmosphere changes and the guy realizes the air has become too dense. With a firm grip on the wooden handle, he finds it absurdly difficult to even breathe. Tense about the situation, the hunter wonders what bizarre monster will jump out of the shadows this time. Heavy footsteps break the silence of the woods. Startled by the noise, the guy turns his head, breaking into a cold sweat to try and identify the threat. Before him, a mysterious figure wearing a green cloak appears among the foliage. Straight to the point, our MC asks who's hiding there. Drak's giant fresh bloodstains reveal that a recent massacre took place. After assessing the tracks, the old man deduces that a colossal beast passed through here and acted alone. In the old man's memories, our MC barely knew how to hold an axe properly just days ago. With his foot on a rock, the elder doesn't understand how the inexperienced big guy took down a monster of that size. To the experienced hunter, even a trained professional would have died fighting the creature without a good weapon. Intrigued by the mystery, the cloaked man mutters a few words in the local language. Determined to see for himself, he decides to investigate the guy more closely. Firm steps, the old man approaches our hero. Face to face on the trail, the old man stares at the guy, hiding his true intentions. Without showing fear, the elder grabs the young man's injured arm. Looking at the deep marks, he instantly confirms it was a wolf bite. However, something doesn't add up, and the hunter finds it strange that the wound is clean and healed too quickly without killing the guy. Faced with the evidence, the master understands that this leaves only one viable possibility. Completely shocked, the old man wonders if this big guy is actually a rare mage. In that strange world, the existence of magic users is a powerful legend. As people that commoners almost never see in their lifetime, these beings are true gods. Looking at the guy, the old man realizes he's struck gold. With a wicked smile and shining eyes, the cloaked man celebrates that his chance has finally arrived. Full of repressed hatred, he sees the perfect opportunity for revenge before he kicks the bucket. Suspicious of the silence, our MC narrows his eyes and wonders who the heck this guy is. In the past, the master was just a young and energetic lumberjack. By the rules of the time, becoming a nobleman's forest guard required serving in a war for a long period in exchange for status. To escape this fate, the young man in the cloak decided to become a common lumberjack in the village. In resources, the mountain offered everything the villagers needed. The big problem, however, was collecting firewood without trespassing into dangerous areas. Due to scarcity, the lumberjack had no choice but to climb the rocks to go deeper. At that time, he thought the adventure would be perfect for mapping the territory, unsuspecting of the danger. Little did he know that a forest guard contract required having all your limbs intact. Exhausted and injured on the ground, the young lumberjack was disqualified before he could even sign the paper. Utterly terrified, he came face to face with the worst plague in the region. Green, monstrous creatures known as goblins dominated the mountaintop. Famous for kidnapping human women, the monsters forced their prisoners to bear offspring. Due to this curse, the village lost almost all its women and became the main target of the plague. Hiding in the dark, the old man held this mortal hatred in his heart for years on end. For decades, he lived among those miserable people, just swallowing his anger and crying. With fury burning in his chest, his only goal in life became to turn the monster's nest to ash. Back in the present, the master is certain that our guy is the perfect weapon for the job. Possessing an absurd physique, our MC impresses the elder with his immense strength. Combined with magical regeneration, the guy becomes an unbeatable machine. Without a shadow of a doubt, this young man can surpass any veteran hunter that has ever existed. Deep in the cave, the goblins remain hidden, but they will soon attack the village when the women run out. To prevent the massacre, the old man decides to train the guy until he becomes an elite hunter. With the plan set in his mind, he knows he needs to keep the nest a secret until the contract is sealed. Bound by the official agreement, the the guy won't be able to back out or flee the mission. Gently our MC bows in respect, but the old man notices the guy's body weight is shifted back. Even with a friendly smile, our hero doesn't let his guard down for a single second. Aware of his potential, the old man extends his hand and promises to teach him everything he knows about hunting. Confused by the conversation, the young man just blinks, not understanding a single thing the master is saying. Morning, our MC wakes up, stretching his body, feeling like the night flew by near the fireplace. Annoyed for having brought the master there, he regrets letting the old man find out where he lives. Being very protective, he doesn't want to turn the cabin into a place where anyone can just walk in near his wife. Pushing the wooden door, he unceremoniously blocks the old man's entry. With a shameless look on his face, the master flashes a cynical smile, like someone who's going to charge a hefty price for his teaching. From his memories of the old world, the guy compares that expression to an HR manager negotiating a salary. With the bag on his back, our MC sighs, accepting that he needs to grind hard to master hunting. From the stove, the wife quickly approaches, handing him a makeshift lunchbox. Tired and panting, the woman wipes sweat from her flushed cheeks. Faced with this scene, our protagonist thinks his wife's gesture is the most beautiful thing in the world. Speechless, the young woman just stares at her husband, overflowing with concern. Right behind, little Dorothy runs at full speed through the house. With her little arms open, the child runs clumsily, demanding attention. Excited by the lunchbox, the girl raises her hands, celebrating the delivery. Worried about her husband, the woman adjusts his clothes, telling the guy to eat properly. Melting it inside, our MC smiles in relief, feeling that he now has people who truly care about him. In an effort to get the local language right, the wife wishes her beloved a safe journey. Understanding the message from her tone of voice, the guy repeats the phrase and swears to return safe and sound. Drifting into a deep sleep, little Dorothy rests like an angel in bed. Wide smiles dominate the table as the couple finally shares a moment of peace. Carrying the sleeping little girl, our hero shows a completely paternal side. Without much effort, the guy lifts the child in his arms, and the woman gets up from the floor to help tidy up. Firm steps take the hunter through the room, lit only by the warm fire. Carefully, he lays the girl on the mattress, arranging the blankets to protect her from the cold. Outside, the isolated cabin glows in the middle of the dark night. Near the fire, the young wife boils a cloth in hot water to clean up the mess. Right behind her, the big guy watches the woman's hard work with a look of pure admiration. Suddenly, he holds the woman's wrist, interrupting her nightly cleaning. Caught by surprise, the girl blushes instantly, not understanding her husband's action. With a serious face, our MC looks at his partner, showing that he wants to take care of her. Inside the lit house, the two get dangerously close, creating a tense atmosphere. Taking the cloth from her hands, the guy begins to wipe the sweat from the woman's face. Delicately, he runs the fabric along the young wife's neck, drying the day's exhaustion. Overcome by shyness, she decides she shouldn't be so timid with her own husband. In a burst of courage, the woman moves forward and places her hands under his shirt. Right on his defined chest, the young woman tries to return the affection, thinking this is a wife's duty. Faced with the cute touch, the hero gives a sweet smile, finding her action very endearing. Dying of embarrassment, the girl pulls back and tries to hide her red face. Quickly, the guy holds her hand firmly, preventing her escape. As their faces get closer, their breaths mingle in the air, announcing the inevitable. Outside, the moon shines in the starry sky, keeping the couple's mystery. In bed, the lovebirds look at each other, lying side by side under the light of a lantern. On top of the woman, the hunter leans in, ready to steal another kiss. Tense and breathless, the young woman gives in to the moment, awaiting the contact. Focused on her husband, she closes her eyes, feeling her heart beat faster. In a deep kiss, the two finally seal their passionate relationship in the dark. Sleep overtakes the woman, who rests serenely, snuggled up to the hero. In the middle of the night, the guy prays to Santa Claus, asking him never to take his new family away. In total contrast, rich nobles live in giant palaces full of butlers and separate rooms. Unlike royalty, commoners share the same space, squeezing entire families into a single bed. Due to this lack of space, children end up hearing and seeing everything their parents do. In the woman's traumatizing memories, her abusive stepfather would hit her mother under the covers, telling her to cry more quietly. Those terrifying screams marked the little girl's panicky nights. Huddled under the blanket with her brother, the girl would listen to her mother's sobs until dawn. Trembling with fear, the young girl always wondered when the nights would finally be silent. Opening her eyes in the present, the woman awakens from the nightmare of the past. In the room, only the crackle of the burning wood breaks the silence of the warm cabin. Confused by the comfort, she realizes she fell asleep on the soft mattress with her husband. With a pleasant surprise, the woman notices the big guy let her use his muscular arm as a pillow. Cradling little Dorothy, the young woman feels a gigantic relief wash over her soul. For the first time in her life, she discovers that a night beside a husband can be sweet and safe. Aware of this new reality, the woman recognizes that her world has changed since the hero appeared. Completely in love, she snuggles even closer to the hunter's chest. Completely relaxed, the trio shares the bed in a scene of pure cuteness. Grasping her beloved's arm, the woman feels her chest tingle with so much joy. Pleading to the heavens, she wishes for that protective embrace to last forever. The next morning, the hero awakens, feeling the weight of the little girl sleeping on his chest. Getting up slowly, the guy is incredibly careful not to wake anyone. Affectionately, he covers the little girl before tiptoeing out. Already up and dressed, the wife picks up a heavy bucket near the wood stove. Without any warning, our MC appears and snatches the iron handle from her hands. Surprised by the giant, she widens her eyes, not understanding the surprise help. Immediately, the guy takes over, proving that the heavy lifting is his responsibility. Splashing water everywhere, he empties the bucket with unnecessary brute force. Turning his head, he casts a calm and helpful look at his partner. Timidly, the woman stammers a few words, wishing her husband a good morning. Touching her own cheek, she realizes she's red as a beet without knowing why. Quick with the translation, the guy figures out that the term that made her blush means darling in the local language. Determined to return the affection, he asks what she wants to be called from now on. Dying of embarrassment, the young woman begs him to use the same affectionate word. Following her order, the hero lets out a loud and smiling, darling. Immediately, the woman covers her face, panicking because of her own shyness. Finding her reaction adorable, the hunter decides to tease a little more. Poking his beloved's back, he insists, calling her darling. One more time. Waking up in a good mood, little Dorothy rubs her eyes, sitting up in bed. Focusing on a large piece of curing meat at the back of the room, the child drools with desire. In a single leap, the little girl darts across the cabin, running with her arms open. Rushing past the lovebirds, she lets out a cute squeal, cutting the romantic mood. Of the wooden bucket, the girl shouts for meat. Super excited. Surprised by the word, our MC realizes she's starving again. Amused by her desperation, he laughs, seeing the girl leaning over, wanting to devour the raw food. Letting out a hearty laugh, the hunter understands he'll have to work twice as hard to feed this little hurricane. With an axe in hand, he enters the forest, vowing to destroy any wolf that crosses his path. Back at the cabin, 3 jerks from the village barge in, looking for trouble. With a cynical smirk, one of the intruders finds the wolf pelt stretched out in the corner. Fascinated by the size of the fur, the guys celebrate, thinking they've hit the jackpot. Without wasting time, the 3 start rummaging through every corner of the shack for more riches. Hiding under the table, little Dorothy trembles in terror, listening to the idiots asking if there's any meat around. With wide eyes, the little girl holds back her tears, afraid of being discovered by that mob. In an act of courage, the wife stands in front of the intruders, demanding they stay away from her belongings. Bathed in tears, the woman bravely shouts that everything there now belongs to her new family. Laughing at the situation, the idiots walk toward the woman, calling her sassy. With a cowardly slap to the face, the leader of the intruders knocks the woman to the ground, laughing at her attempt to defend herself. Due to the force of the blow, the poor woman falls hard, hitting the wooden floor with a thud. In a lot of pain, the wife can barely get up after the cowardly assault. Horrified by the scene, Dorothy watches everything from under the table, her heart pounding in her chest. Suddenly, memories of our MC's monstrous strength beating wolves flood the little girl's mind. Unfortunately, the trauma of the past speaks louder, and she recalls the bruised faces of her mother and stepmother after beatings from her former father. To not make things worse, the little one remembers that crying only made the abuse worse in the old house. Feeling guilty for hiding instead of helping, the girl decides she needs to apologize to her adoptive mother. In tears, the little one walks to the woman, begging not to be abandoned or treated like a ghost. With a tear-streaked face, Dorothy takes the blame for everything in a heart-wrenching confession. Without a second thought, the wife hugs her little daughter tightly, crying along with her. In tears, the woman confesses she only pretended not to know the girl in the forest to keep her safe from those monsters. In a tight hug, the mother assures Dorothy that none of it is her fault and tries to calm the little one's terror. Kneeling on the floor, she comforts the child, reminding her that now her new daddy is there to protect them. Confused by the revelation, the little girl replies that her real father is already gone, but the woman smiles, explaining the truth. Patiently, she explains that our MC is her husband, and that automatically makes him Dorothy's new daddy. Child's pure mind, the logic of having a stepmother and a new father starts to make sense. Totally shocked, little Dorothy's golden eyes widen, finding the revelation hard to believe. Through the window, the girl spots the big guy walking back through the woods. Rushing to her mother, she asks if that giant man is really her new dad. With great affection, the wife caresses her daughter's head, explaining that our MC is different from the deceased and is there to protect them. Just then, the memory of the hunter's powerful punch flashes in little Dorothy's mind as proof of protection. Determined to find the hero, the child runs toward the exit in a hurry. Shouting loudly, she calls for Daddy from the window, getting the guy's attention. In her view, a man with a huge face, a giant's body, and enormous hands is the perfect daddy. Long strides, little Dorothy goes to meet her hero. Memories of his warm hug during the night reinforce the affection she feels for our MC. In the girl's head, the smiles, the plentiful food, and the beautiful name she received are proof of pure love. Radiant with the discovery of having such a wonderful father, she runs, shouting for the hunter. Focused on the path, our MC hears the sweet voice and sees the little girl running toward where he is. With open arms, the guy prepares to receive the little one. In a leap of pure joy, the little girl throws herself into the giant's arms, giving him a tight hug. Even without understanding the words she's shouting, the hunter feels all the purity of that moment in his chest. With little Dorothy against his chest, he walks back, feeling like the happiest man in the world. Suddenly, a strange, damp smell catches our hero's attention. Looking at her little clothes, he realizes the little girl wet herself from so much excitement. With a goofy smile, the guy finds her innocence adorable but decides to rush to change her clothes before she catches a cold. In the yard, the wife runs to meet them, relieved to see them both okay. Together, the three of them hug in the middle of the woods, celebrating their new family's union. Suddenly, Dorothy points behind them, desperately asking about the hunted meat. In a frantic race, the little girl dashes back to check on the food bucket. On her way, Dorothy runs right past the three aggressors lying on the ground after getting a monumental beating from our MC. Not caring about the idiots' bodies, the little one only wants to secure lunch. Upon seeing the bucket full of juicy steaks, she freezes with excitement. With all her child's strength, she tries to drag the heavy wooden container. Unbalanced by the weight, Dorothy ends up falling headfirst into the bucket with her little legs in the air. Desperate, the couple runs to help the girl who almost drowned in meat. Angry and pouting, the little meat hurricane makes a grumpy face, protecting the food with tooth and nail. Shocked by the scene, our MC admits that his daughter's obsession with food is both terrifying and hilarious. With a smile on her face, the wife accompanies her husband back to the safety of the cabin. With Dorothy inside her own bucket, the giant is amused by the little girl's cheekiness. With her arms wide open, the girl celebrates the luxury ride as if she were a queen. Faced with so much cuteness, our MC reflects that becoming a hero for a child is the easiest thing in the world. Near the entrance, the wife says in her language that it's time to bring the food inside. With an extended finger, she tells Dorothy to get inside quickly because the forest is dangerous at night. Without wasting time, the girl enters the shack, celebrating the wonderful dinner that awaits them. Relieved that everyone is safe, the hunter closes the door with a calm sigh. Outside the cabin, the three troublemakers groan in pain on the ground under the protagonist's cold gaze. With his eyes glowing with murderous fury, the guy approaches, ready to finish them off. Suddenly, the village chief appears in the clearing and extends his hand, preventing a greater tragedy. With firm gestures, the elder orders him not to kill anyone to avoid problems with the local law. With a clear head, our MC realizes that getting arrested or becoming a slave again would ruin his new life. Looking back, he sees his wife at the door and remembers he now has people who depend on him. Looking at the cowards on the ground, he swears to memorize each face, promising a fate worse than the end if they cross his path again. To calm the mood, the old master pats our MC on the shoulder and points to a toolbox. Without complaining, the guy collects the essential items, knowing he'll need everything to keep his family safe on the mountain. Eyeing the doorway, our MC finds his wife and daughter laughing together inside the warm cabin. With a light smile on his face, the hunter enters, carrying the wolf pelt and the toolbox he got from the master. Kneeling on the wooden floor, he starts taking out the hammers and essential gear to fix up the shack. Determined with the iron tools, the guy makes a vow that losing a family once in his life was more than enough suffering. Facing the two of them, our MC opens his arms in a welcoming gesture, silently promising that no matter what happens, he will protect them with his own life.